This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Now we are going to learn about data types. In Java, data types are mainly classified as primitive built-in primitive type and reference data type. One is primitive data type and another one is reference data type. First, we are going to look about primitive data type. Java support 8 primitive data type. Java support 8 primitive data type. Byte, short, int, long, and float double are used to store integer value. Used to store integer value. What is integer value? Let's say age. A person age is 20 or 25. This is integer value. And what is another type of integer value like float and double? Let's say 3.14 or 30.25. So these are decimal values. Again, these are considered as integer values. So Java support 6 primitive data type to store integer value. To store int value, that means without decimal point, we should use byte, short, int, long. Okay. To store decimal value, we should use float, double. Okay. And we have another two primitive data types, char and boolean. To store single character, we should use char. To store boolean like true or false, we should use boolean. Okay. So Java support 8 primitive data type to store integer, character, and boolean values. Okay. There is another data type called reference data type to store the reference of object. We will discuss about once we complete our discussion about primitive type. Okay. And why Java support these many integer data types? Which data type we should use? It is depending upon our need. If you look at here, to store integer, we should use byte, short, int, and long. For floating point, we should use float and double fraction. To store single character, we should use character. Okay. If you look at here, especially look at the size, and minimum value and maximum value. Let's say you are going to store a age. You are going to store the age. The age of a person mostly 1 to some numbers before below 100 or 120 or something. That time you can use byte. If you look at this min value and max value, in byte, if you choose byte of your primitive data type for a variable, minimum you can store, minimum range is -128, maximum is 127. That means you can't store 130 or 150 in a byte variable. Like that, each primitive data type has its own range. If you look at sort, the range is -2 to the power 15 to minus, that means 2 to the power 15 minus 2 to the power 15 minus 1. This range you can store in sort. Like that, each primitive data type has its own range. And float, double. Float we can store, float and double we can store fractional value. And if you see here the size, each primitive data type has occupy its own memory. If it is Boolean, it will occupy only 1 bit. Okay, one bit. If it is character, it will occupy 16 bit. That means 1 byte equal to 8 bits. 1 byte equal to 8 bits. So 2 byte equal to 16 bits. So character will occupy 2 byte. Byte will occupy 1 byte. Sort will occupy 2 byte. Like that. Okay. So depending upon our requirement, our need, we should choose the correct primitive data type. That means to store a age, we don't need long because it will occupy 64 bits. To store a age, byte is enough because its range is 127. So that is enough because byte will occupy less memory than long, int, and sort. So depending upon the what value you are going to store, we need to choose the correct primitive data type. Again, this fractional value, if you are going to store between this range, okay, you can store float. If you are going to store more value, than this value, then you need to use double. Okay. So these are the memory size of the each data type will occupy. Okay. If you look at this program, let me uncomment. Sorry, let me comment some of the lines. Let's say I am declaring a variable. The variable name is age. The type is byte. In the variable age, I am storing the value of 127. Okay, I am just printing the value. It is compiled properly. it is printing the value of age is 127. For the time being, we no need to concentrate on other lines. Oh, it is printing. Oh, I didn't store it. Sorry. Okay. If you see, I am declaring a variable. The type is byte. I am storing the value 127. I'm just printing the age. It's right. If you look at our PPT, the max value of byte is 127. Max value of our byte is 127. Now, what I am doing is I am uncommenting this line. Okay. Now, if you look at here, it is showing the error. Incompatible types, possible lossy conversion from into byte. The meaning is, if you look at the PPT, the max range of byte is 127, but we are trying to store 128 now. The type, the variable of the type of variable age is byte. We are storing in, we are trying to store 128. The max value we can store is 127. Since we are trying to store 128, it is showing the compile time error like this. Incompatible of, because if you need to store the value more than 127, we should not choose age. We should choose other primitive data type like short, int, or long, depending upon the value we are going to store. Okay. Any question till now? Is it understandable?
It's clear.
Okay. Now we are going to look about character. Let me uncomment this line. If you look at here, it is printing gender is M. If you look at the variable gender, the type is char. If you look at here, I am storing the value in a single quotes. This is very important. To store a character value, we should store the value in single quotes. If you see, this is double quotes. This is double quotes. This is single quotes. We should store char value in a single quotes. Okay. Now, let us the same gender variable. I am trying to store male, which is enclosed inside the double quotes. Okay. If you see, it is showing error because I am trying to store a char value, that means the gender, which is char type, but I am storing the value in a double quotes. So we should not store the char value in the double quotes. Okay. Okay. That means this is called single quotes. This one is called double quotes. Characters should be stored in single quotes. Okay. It is used to store a single character. If you would like to store more than a single character, then we should choose string. In our previous example, in some of the examples we have seen about string. If you look at it, it will be something like this. It will be something like this. It is perfectly valid. I am storing a string value. If you look at Ravi, it has more than one character. Ravi has 4 characters. Ravi has 4 characters. Since we are going to store a value which has more than one character, we decided to choose the value inside the string. This is perfectly legal. Okay. Okay. Any doubt in char? Can someone acknowledge?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, we will come back to this area after some time. Now we are going to look about sort and int. If you look at here, the variable name salary, the type is primitive data type sort. We are storing 10,000. We are storing 10,000. So it is the sort data type is allowing to store 1000 because 10,000. It is in the range of salary, which is type is sort. Now let us I am adding one more 0. Now it is showing error because the salary, which is sort data type, will not hold this much value. Now, if you need to store this much value, because sort will not occupy this value, instead of sort, okay, you should use int, because int is greater than sort. That means int can occupy more value than sort. Okay. Now, like that, long has its own range. Some range may not be fit in the int. So you need to choose another data type called long. Okay. Okay. Any doubt? Is it clear? Midun, is it clear?
It's clear.
Okay. Okay. We'll move to the next. Now, our requirement is we need to store decimal point. We need to store decimal point like 31.50. To store decimal point, Java support two data types. One is double and another one is float. Double is greater than float. To store small value, we can choose float. To store maximum value, which will not be fit in the float, we can choose double. Now, 31.50 is a very minimum value. It's supposed to be fit in price, which type is float. Okay, but it is showing error. Even though 31.50 will be fit in the price, the type is float, it is showing error. The reason is when it will encounter this decimal point in Java, by default, this is double value. This value is double value, not float value. So to mention compiler, this is float data type. What we need to do is we need to add, that means suffix f after the value. Okay. Why we are adding f is by default Java consider all decimal values are double. To inform Java this is float value, we are adding f as suffix. Okay. So if you mention like this, if you see, it is not showing any error because 31.50 is by default double. Since we declare as double, it is not showing any compile time error. Okay. Any question? Is it clear?
Clear.
Okay. Okay. Now we are going to discuss about automatic conversion and casting. Okay, automatic conversion and casting. Let me put everything inside the okay, leave it. If you look at here, byte, sort, int, long, float, double. Sort is greater than byte, int is greater than sort, long is greater than int. Like that, for decimal point, double is greater than float. If we store, okay, byte value, that means byte variable inside the sort, the automatic, that means implicit conversation will happen. I can put small value in a large type. That means I can put small bucket inside the large bucket, but the reverse is not possible. I can't put large bucket inside a small bucket. So if you look at the program, compare it. Int I equal to 0, int I equal to 0, double D, okay? We are not initializing any value in D, but what we are doing is we are assigning I into D. D is which type? Double type. I is which type? Int type. If you look at the PPT, int is smaller than double. So since we are assigning small value in big value, the automatic conversion will be applicable. Let me compile it. Okay, it is compiled properly, but the reverse is not true. That means let me remove this one. If you look at here, double D equal to 10. Okay, int I am assigning the value of D into I. If you look at here, D is big data type than int data type. So we are assigning big data type into a small data type, which is int. If you see, look at here, it is showing error. Incompatible types, possible lossy conversion from double to int. That means what it is saying is we can't assign a value from double to int. So what we need to do is we need to cast explicitly. That means we need to convert double value into int value. So what we need to do? Now it accepted. The compiler is not showing any error. Okay. The only one thing is, even though now it is compiled properly, now let me assume that instead of double int, I am using some other value. Let me check. Okay, int 130. I'm using byte. System out println. Okay. If you look at here, our D value is 130. Our D value is 130. Since int is greater than byte, what we are doing? We are explicitly converting, okay, so that compiler will not show any error. But the thing is, the original value is 130, but it is printing 126. The reason is 130 will not be accumulated inside the byte variable. So some value is lost. Okay. Why it is showing, why it is giving minus 126? You will get idea how the values are at last authenticated. If you can Google it to get more information on that. This is called implicit conversation and casting. This is called implicit conversation. This is called casting. Casting is done using this open parenthesis type and closing parenthesis. Any doubt? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now we completed our discussion about built-in primitive data types. Now we are going to discuss about reference data type. Okay. So these are built-in primitive data types supported by Java. This reference data type, that means what we'll do is we will create a variable using class name or interface name. Till now we have not discussed about interface. We have only discussed about class. In the feature session we discussed about interface. So we can declare reference data type using class name or interface name. If you look at here, string is a class. This is a variable, address. So address variable is type of string class. Address variable is type of string class. If you look at this line, there is a variable called my. That reference variable type is my class. The reference variable type is my class. We are declaring our own class. This string class is coming from Java library. Java library. And in one of the class we have discussed about Java libraries. Once you install JDK, you will get rt.jar that is come with JDK. So string class is coming from Java built-in library. My class is defined by as here. So this is this variable's address or my. This is reference variable. Address is reference of string class. My is reference of my class. Okay. Normally, what will happen is we will create object using these classes. We will create object using classes. These objects are stored in a memory. The address of the object is stored in this reference variable. Okay, we will discuss about this one in one of our class. So now what we need to understand is we can create reference variable using class name or interface name. Is it clear? Any doubt?
No doubt.
Okay.